Some of you may know, a few months ago, Gabi and I broke up. And this means I've had some time to think about relationships and what it means to an ENFP. After the relationship ended, I did have this feeling of being more free, as if I was uncaged and able to really think about all the possibilities and the life I really wanted. And there's something I figured out, and it's this aspect of creating our own cage. Most ENFPs, and I've talked to and met many of you, we say freedom. Freedom is important to us. What do you want? Freedom, 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 right? And yet, I think sometimes we actually create our own cages, and not just in relationships, but this can also apply to things like career or family. Gabi is an ENFJ, and so as an ENFP, P being that we're perceiving, we're more open, where J's stands for more judging, and they are more concrete. J's tend to like to structure things and be like, this is how things should be, this is what I want, etc. Whereas P's are like, hey, I'm open to what could happen, different things are open, whatever, right? Another thing that's very common for us ENFPs is that we are sometimes people pleasers, especially when we are younger, and that we can have a fear of confrontation. Now, these are not guarantees if you're an ENFP, but depending on how your parents are in childhood and all this, it's more common than in a lot of other types. So what can happen if you're in some kind of a relationship with a J-type is that the J-type is going to know what they want. And so they're going to say, hey, I want to have 3 kids and a red house by age 34. And you're going to say, like, maybe, like I've kind of thought about that, but I don't know, like it could also be cool to like have a blue house or maybe have 1 kid or 4 dogs or who knows. And they're gonna say, I would like 3 kids in a red house. And you're gonna be like, well, okay, that makes sense. Now, I'm obviously exaggerating a little bit, right? But if you have one force in a relationship that knows what they want and is steady, like this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And another one's like, that's changing a little bit. Hey, I think I want this, but I could like this, and this is interesting. And doesn't like confrontation, doesn't like arguing or saying like, no, this is what I want, because they don't want to upset the other person. Then you can see how you could slowly start building your cage. And this wasn't her doing it. It wasn't her creating a cage for me. She was open. She's like, what do you want? And it was me being unsure or giving unclear answers that ultimately created an environment where I felt cut off from the life I really wanted and cut off from those possibilities. I think what's important for us ENFPs is we set some boundaries. And so we think, hey, here's what's really important to me. And maybe I don't know everything. I want freedom. I want to create a life where I have more possibilities, or I might change my mind, but these are sort of the main things that are really important to me in my life. The amount of times I've had this kind of conversation with clients who talk about their job not allowing them to work how they want to work as an ENFP. And then as I get into the details, they've never even told their boss how they want to work as an ENFP. So they'll talk to me and they'll say, you know, I don't like having to go to these meetings. I get more work done when I work this way. I want to use my creativity more. And then their boss will say, hey, you have to go to these meetings and work this way. And they'll just say, okay. And then they wonder why they hate their job and it doesn't work for them, right? We have to learn how to be more honest, how to be more upfront and say, hey, this isn't working for me. As far as relationship advice goes, this can be tough. I know, like if you're dating and you're meeting new people, one of the things you don't want to do as an ENFP is maybe cut off possibilities and say, I'm very strict. Like these are all the things I need in my life, because you meet someone and you're like, hey, I like being with this person. And if I lay out the 20 things that are important to me or whatever, you might lose that. And ENFPs, we're not great at saying no, we're not great at setting clear boundaries, and we like to keep possibilities open. We like to, you know, be happy and have options and have freedom and all these things. So it's not necessarily going to be an easy thing to do, but knowing that we actually have a lot more control over our own lives than we think we do is really important. And if you are with someone or working for someone or have a business partner who is much more firm in their preferences, if you're just open to whatever and not willing to clarify things and stand your ground, you're naturally going to get pushed around or boxed in or caged in a little bit. And then you'll feel like this other person is doing it to you. And maybe they are putting a little pressure sometimes. I mean, that definitely happens in a lot of jobs or relationships. But ultimately it is within your control and you have the freedom to direct things how you want. Most types can be quite understanding of other people. And it's not really even fair to them either, is it, if you think about it? I mean, imagine being with someone who agrees with you and they go along with what you say you want, and then years later they're like, hey, that's not really what I want, you made me do this. Like, that's not really fair to them, right? Now, that's not to say that us as ENFPs need to always have clarity. That's not our style. We flow with the wind. We're like fluid like water. We can change and adapt. And that is who we are, and that's totally okay. But we have to acknowledge how that can affect relationships and how that can change the dynamic and end up essentially creating a job or relationship that isn't exactly what we wanted. So have you ever felt this way? If you have, let me know your experience in the comments, what it was like for you and your story. It'd be really awesome to read. And if you're new to the channel, I publish new videos often for my fellow ENFPs and other awesome personality types as well. So do subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you in the next video soon.